And we're back. Another wild week here in Washington and around the country in politics this week. We're glad to be back with Coach Lou Holtz. Coach, it's great to see you as we head into this Easter weekend.
It is. It's great, particularly at this time of the year with Easter and everything else. But there's so many things going on in this country that really concern me.
There are.
Well, I'm an old man, but I remember when the elections were held, and that's when Eisenhower was running, et cetera. And we had difference of opinion, but we had the same objective. For example, when I was growing up, we wanted this country to be safe. We wanted the people to be prosperous. That was the objective, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Well, the problem came, we've had two different versions of how that could be accomplished, but we had the same objective. But we don't now. You pick up the paper and you read where senators down in El Salvador trying to rescue somebody who's been arrested for abusing his wife, and two judges have come out and said that he was a member of the M13 gang. And
Yes.
So, what in the world is our objective? What are we trying to do? I don't know what the Democrats are trying to do with this country. It's amazing. President Biden could bring in thousands of people at a time without vetting them. But we have to get rid of them one at a time. That's not fair. That's not right. That defies all logic. So we could go on and on about it, but I just worry because when I see Luigi, I saw it on TV when he shot the father in the back with a gun. He aimed
Yes,
it.
the insurance
He
CEO.
stopped him. And all of a sudden, they've got close to $1 million for his defense fund. Who in the world are we kidding? What is important in this country? I thought being a father, being a good person was important, but obviously it's not.
We've got things so backwards right now, Coach, and I want to talk about what you first mentioned about obviously that senator going down to El Salvador and so concerned about this gang member that came here illegally, that was deported, that the legacy media is coming out and defending. Yet we saw yesterday Patty Morin, she's at the White House, speaking in the briefing room, speaking to reporters about her daughter Rachel, who was brutally murdered by an illegal alien that came to this country under the last administration. And do you know, Coach, that the legacy media, a couple of those networks, they cut away from her speech, from that grieving mother who was so eloquent in her speech, so brave getting up there and speaking that story again and again. And she said to that senator, what about my daughter? Why are you so concerned about this man who obviously the reports that he beat his wife, but my daughter was murdered. She's the mother of 5. And it's just beyond me how how Democrats seem to have it so backwards.
There's no doubt. What's important? What are their values? What do we really believe in? That's what scares me about this country. Because 50 years ago, when I was in my 20s, we had the same values. We had a difference of opinion how to achieve those values, but we had the same values. Now, I don't recognize this. I really don't, and particularly with the court system, I don't recognize it. So it's crazy. And if we had people protesting against Afro-Americans, everybody'd be up in arms. But no, it's because it's the Jewish people that's okay. And it's not okay. I'm not saying that you should be this. You have to decide that for yourself. But what's important to you? When I ask what's important to the Democrats, and I used to be a Democrat, I have to say, well, for the guy that shot the businessman in the back, who was a father of 2, you look at what their priorities are as they go along. And that's what really scares me. Because winning an election anymore isn't enough because of the judicial system that we have. And I get so frustrated, I get upset, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people. They're just upset. We voted. This is what we came up with. Why can't we let him run this country the way he sees fit? We elected him. Let him run it. Let him go do it. But no. We got to step in and tell him what he can do and what he can't do. How can a judge in the 6th district make a decision that affects the entire country? That's not the way it's set up. There's never been a mention of a judicial system of district judges like we have now. That's not in the Constitution, but they're trying to run the country, and I'm sad to say the Supreme Court has allowed them to do it. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I don't think it makes sense to a lot of people out there. And, you watch what's all the work that's being done by some on the other side to prevent this administration from doing the work that the American people mandated back in November. What do you think this means for the America First movement, Coach? As people watch what's going on in the legacy media, they watch how this administration is being attacked and all the lawsuits to try to prevent them from the great work that they're doing. Do you think our movement gets stronger because of that?
Well, I have two son and a son-in-law that are lawyers, and I used to say, how can you tell the lawyer was run over by a car because there are no skid marks? There are for animals, but I just don't understand. I don't understand what in the world is going on. There's a right and there's a wrong, but no, we try to make it so that nobody knows what is right and what is wrong. And the president is to decide the direction of the country. He ran on getting rid of illegal immigrants. He ran on a policy, but they won't let him enforce it. And that's not the way this country should be run. But once again, it's a question of, well, this is what we think, and we don't care what the people said. We don't care who won. We think this, and that's what we're going to do.
And you know what? I don't know about you, Coach, but I think it's so great to see this administration standing so strong for the American people. We saw weak leadership the last 4 years, and now we have a president that says, you know what, despite all of these challenges, we're going to go full speed ahead, and we're going to do the work that the American people mandated. And we saw that yesterday as well. Linda McMahon, our Secretary of Education, our AG Pam Bondi, both AFPI alums and close friends of the AFPI family, they went out yesterday for a press conference and said, we're going to sue the Maine Department of Education because Maine's governor, Janet Mills, has refused to comply with President Trump's orders to protect women and girls in sports and keep men out of women's sports. Just a beautiful moment yesterday to see so many of our AFPI friends and family out in front of the press and saying, hey, we're not going to tolerate this. What did you think about that?
I applaud them. Go. When you talk about the Department of Education, my philosophy is, if it's working, let it go. But it's not working. You look at the test scores. You look at what's happening on the reading and math in this country. It's not working the way it is now, because all you had to do is go back to COVID, where the head of the union, all she worried about was getting more money and working less hours. And it hurt the people. It hurt the students. But nobody really cared about that because that wasn't their purpose. So what I'm saying is, let's put it somewhere where the purpose is to educate our children. And the truancy in school is ridiculous. We never had that when I was growing up. If you missed 2 days, I mean, they called your mom, wanted to know what was going on. But that's the way it should be. You don't want to get an education when you're younger, but you don't realize how important it is till years later. And so let's get back to the basic fundamentals. Let's teach ABC, reading, writing, arithmetic, rather than just allow them to do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Does it make you concerned, Coach, for our future generation? I obviously know you're a grandfather, and you think about our young people today, and they haven't been getting the best education because of obviously the disconnect between the federal and state level. And we are so excited for the great work that's being done by our Secretary McMahon and under President Trump's leadership. But does it make you concerned over what the future looks like for these young people, given the fact that they've really been left behind in a lot of ways?
Well, I think education is the most important thing. Being able to read and write and express yourself and use common sense. We don't have a whole lot of that other than with the president, the Republicans, but it's a shame the direction we're going, and people want to keep going in that direction, and it's not working. If it's not working, why do we keep doing it? Why do we keep going down that same path when it doesn't work?
That's so true. Well, Coach, we are coming up on Easter here, and I was curious if you had a message for folks out there as we look to observe the Easter holiday.
You know, it's amazing. We talk about Easter. You go back to the different phases of your life, and all you're worried about was the Easter basket and whether you got a chocolate bunny and how many jelly beans you got, etc. And that was so important. Then as you get older, then you learn about the real meaning of Easter, Christ rising from the dead, and you put the different perspective. But I got to tell you this: when you get older, at my age, the only thing that matters is having a faith in God. I don't know how people get by without a faith in God. People say, "Well, you're going to be criticized ever." So be it. And that's what I believe. That's what I think. And it's really amazing. Churches are packed on Easter Sunday. They aren't every other Sunday, and it should be. Let's get back to the meaning of Christ and what's important in our lives.
And that is such a great point, Coach. I hope to see more of those services, church services packed on non-holidays as they should be, as they were decades ago. And I think it speaks to some of the decline that we've seen in recent years, the fact that people have gotten away from faith, have gotten away from the church, and you see how that's, where it's taken society.
You know, a guy once said to me, if you aren't as close to God as you once were, I wonder which one moved. And that is so true. I, I think having a faith in God, now that's just me, gives you a sense of inner peace about life and about the future. And you understand that even though I'm an old man now and I fall quite often, I cut myself and bang my head. But having a faith in God is the only thing that keeps me going. I don't know how people get through life without it. One thing I do know, I'm an old man now. I'm 88. You're always going to have problems. You're always going to have difficulties. You're always going to have challenges. That's part of life. You aren't going to be without it. But we think, oh boy, I can handle it myself. No, that's not quite possible. As my son Skip often said, if you want to make God laugh, you tell him what your plans are. Things don't always work out the way you want. But I thank God that I had good nuns when I was growing up in school and in religion and in life in general. And I feel sorry for the people that really don't have a true relationship with God. I can only imagine how frustrating that must be as they go along.
And Coach, I can only imagine how that's helped you in the many highs that people have seen in your career and in your life, and I'm sure during the tougher times as well.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about it. As I say, I'm an old man. And having a faith in God doesn't mean you aren't going to have problems. You aren't going to have difficulties. You aren't going to have challenges. You're going to have it all your life. To the day you die, you're always going to have problems and challenges. But having a faith in God enables you to handle them, enables you to cope with them, enables you to make good choices and move on. But more importantly, taking care of your family.
Yes, family is everything, Coach. Coach, God bless you. You're family to us. We love you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter.
I having another Easter is wonderful. I don't know how many more of them I'm going to have, but thank God that I had good a religious upbringing and learned to have a faith in God. And yeah, it's varied and it wafers from time to time. But just, I don't know how you get by without a faith in God. And if you haven't had a faith in God, you got to try it. You got to try it. You got to get down on your knees, give your life to God, and you watch what happens. Good things will happen.
It'll make a big difference. Coach, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. You look great.
Oh, thank you. God bless you. So do you. We've got our Easter best on. We're ready for Sunday Mass.
Well, I will be there as well.